The kettle is always on in Ireland, and today we're talking about afternoon tea. Hi, thanks so much for joining me again here on the Traveling in Ireland podcast. I have a tasty treat for you today, but before we jump into that, I have someone I want you to meet. If you haven't had a chance to meet my friend Ollie in episodes 120 or 162, he is the owner of ollietours.com. And today, I'm just going to give you a brief introduction to him as he invites you on a couple of his famous tours.
So we specialise in the Aran Islands and the Cliffs of Moher. Both of these experiences start from Doolin, a small little village on the west coast, or Galway, a larger city on the west coast. So the first one is the Aran Islands. If the Aran Islands are not on your bucket list, get them on quick. They are absolutely phenomenal. Trust me, it's like going to a time machine. The horse, the carts, the old traditions, the stone walls, the landscape, it is phenomenal. There are 3 Aran Islands: Inishmore, Inishman, and Inisheer. We go to Inisheer mainly because it's my favourite. It's a shorter boat ride and it's just loads of fun. We don't have the cookie cutter experience. We bring you all the way there. We're with you the entire time. We do a bike tour or a pony and trap tour, whatever you kind of like. And we also introduce you to some locals for some tea, coffee, and scones. If you like, you can also add on a Cliffs of Moher cruise on the way home. So you can get the Aran Islands and the Cliffs of Moher in one foul swoop. If you don't want to see the Aran Islands at all, you just want to go to the Cliffs of Moher, we offer a really fun experience. 5-mile hike from Doolin all the way to the top of the Cliffs of Moher. Views seen by less than 3% of people. If you want to book, Jodie will give you the details, but we offer public and private tours. Woo!
I've done the Cliffs of Moher tour with Ollie. It is so much fun and so informational. If you want to learn more about Ollie's tours, visit IrelandFamilyVacations.com/Ollie, OLLIE.
By the way, this is my first podcast ad, so it would be really appreciated if you did look up that. Woohoo!
One of the first things you're going to notice in Ireland is that there is always a hot water kettle available almost in every place you stay. Every hotel is going to have one. Most B&Bs are going to have one. There's going to be a tray. It's going to have a hot water kettle, tea bags, instant coffee. Sometimes it will have cocoa, and usually there'll be a couple of biscuits. So you can sit down and relax with the cuppa and, just have that little easy pick-me-up. And I have to say that as a tea drinker, I find that so much nicer than the coffee pot that you find in every hotel room across the US. I don't know about you, but I can taste the coffee, like you run the water through and it picks up that coffee flavor off the plastic. Ugh, it's just the worst. So I love a hot water kettle in my hotel room in Ireland. So that just kind of leads me to talking about afternoon tea, because a memorable afternoon tea experience, it really tops the must-do list for so many people. And I indulge at least once every time I'm in Ireland. I make sure that I have a really nice afternoon tea during my vacation. It's one of my highlights. So I want to talk a little bit about afternoon tea and high tea before we dig too much further into it, because a lot of people will think about a high tea being a fancy experience, and in all reality it's not. Afternoon tea is that elegant tea that you're thinking of, that's served with scones and the nice little cut sandwiches, or the cucumber sandwiches, the dainty sweets, the puddings. That fancy afternoon tea is actually, it's a low tea as opposed to being a high tea. So this was kind of a staple of the Victorian aristocracy, and it was designed to kind of relieve that midday slump because, during the season, the Victorians would dance all night and they wouldn't wake until noon, if that. And they would have their breakfast then, and they wouldn't have dinner until about 8. And for a long period, there was no meal in between. And I don't have the notes in front of me, and I should have written this down. But one enterprising Victorian lady decided that during visitors, she was going to serve tea and sandwiches and sweets. And this became afternoon tea. It was served at a low table, often near a warm fireplace, and it became afternoon tea or low tea. Now, high tea is actually a working class meal. It was often taken at high tables or like bar countertops, bar tops, and it was usually eaten while standing. High tea was a meal of handheld items, so meat pies, hearty sandwiches, thick slices of bread and butter and jam, and it was served with tea as well. So that was the high tea, and the low tea or the afternoon tea is the fancy one. So it's just kind of a funny change that has happened over the years where many people associate a high tea with that fancy seated long afternoon repast. So anyway, I wanted to share that little bit of history because I find it interesting. But enough history. Let's get on to how you can plan an afternoon tea in Ireland. Now, like I said, I make time for at least one good, memorable afternoon tea when I visit Ireland. It's one of my favorite things to do, and I highly recommend it for anyone. I've taken my girls, even when they were young, we did afternoon teas. I've done afternoon teas with my husband. Maybe he's indulging me, but I like to think that he enjoys it as well. It's just a really great opportunity to sit down, relax. A lot of the time you can get a nice bubbly with it. You don't have to drink tea. You can have coffee or hot chocolate. If you're with children, they'll serve a juice. So it really can be customized, but it's just a great time to sit down, to relax, to enjoy a slow pace and really enjoy what the restaurant or the chef is doing that day, because a lot of the times these teas will change by season. They'll have a different menu based on the flavors of the season. In the winter, you may find things that are a little more spiced for maybe the Christmas holidays, whereas in the spring you're getting more of the light and airy, maybe some citrusy flavors. So it's just really an amazing taste experience. Now, you're going to find afternoon teas at luxury hotels. Obviously, castle hotels are going to have them, manor houses, and even some boutique restaurants or upscale restaurants will offer an afternoon tea either weekends or on holidays. So definitely wherever you're at, look for that option if it's something that you are interested in doing. A few memorable experiences that we have had with afternoon teas were at Dunbrody House down in Wexford. This is a beautiful Georgian manor house. The afternoon tea, we actually had it in the garden, and so that made it really, really nice. We had a beautiful birthday tea at Lyrith Estate in Kilkenny this past fall for my daughter. They went all out for her, and it was beautifully set in a sitting room, and just was a lovely experience to have. Loch Esk Castle in Donegal does a beautiful afternoon tea. I believe that you can have that in a couple of different rooms. Ours was just in a front sitting room, just absolutely lovely area. The Ashford Castle in County Mayo, you are in a sitting room for that as well. Their tea trays they're beautiful sterling silver, and they have to be 2 feet tall. It's a spectacle that is just amazing to be a part of. Kennedy Castle in County Offaly has a lovely tea. Beautiful views out into the garden from the room that you're in there. Killashee House Hotel in Kildare, also a really, really nice tea. And they do a children's tea as well. They call it a teddy bear tea, which looked super cute. And then, of course, there is one of my favorite experiences, and that is vintage tea trips in Dublin. So that is afternoon tea served on a vintage double-decker bus as you tool through the streets of Dublin and hear some really fun stories and interesting histories about the city. So those are a few of the experiences that I have really enjoyed. But again, there are dozens and dozens. You're going to find them across Ireland. So again, wherever you land for a few days, just look around. If there's a castle hotel or an upscale restaurant, things like that, take a look and see if they offer an afternoon tea. Now, I'm going to give you a pro tip on that. Most castle hotels are not open to visitors to just walk up and explore without a reservation. But if you make a booking for an afternoon tea, you can gain access to the castle and the grounds so you can have that castle experience without spending the money that you would have to stay overnight. So it's a great way to get into a castle, a little more budget friendly. So just a little tip there. And one final reminder about afternoon teas. You usually need to book those at least 2 days in advance. And that's because the afternoon teas are prepared special on the day. They don't keep the sweets and the sandwiches. Those aren't made in advance and then pulled out so you can walk in and just have an afternoon tea. They actually are made special for the people who have reserved them on that day. So give yourself 2 days in advance for most locations. For popular locations or castle hotels, things like that, book those as far in advance as you can, because those experiences will fill quickly. So what are your thoughts? Is afternoon tea high on your list? Was there anything that kind of intrigued you? Obviously, I've talked about vintage tea trips in Dublin multiple times, and I know I've mentioned, you probably heard about the Lyrith Estate tea and the Killashee tea in my live podcast this last fall. So you've probably heard me talk about afternoon tea a few times, but it truly is one of my favorite things to do in Ireland, and I would love to know if it ticks your bucket list as well. I want to thank you so much for listening today and remind you that if you enjoyed the podcast, I would really appreciate it if you would leave a 5-star review at Apple Podcasts, Spotify, or wherever you listen to podcasts. If your podcast app won't let you leave a review, you can visit the Ireland Family Vacations Facebook page and leave a review there, or you can find me on Trustpilot. Just search for Ireland Family Vacations or type in irelandfamilyvacations.com/trust, and that will take you right to the page where you can leave a review. If you have questions or comments, you can always email me, Jody, Jody, at irelandfamilyvacations.com. Thanks again so much for listening, and until next time, slán go fóill.